Hi, how are you?
Hey, how's it going?
Fine, how are you? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, great. How's it going today?
Oh, it's going pretty well. Sorry, just putting my sweatshirt on.
No worries. Don't catch a cold.
Yeah, I know. It's getting colder out here.
Yeah, I know. The temperatures are cooling down in the northern hemisphere here. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Oh,
Definitely.
yeah. Well, in the sun
So,
though, it's pretty nice in the sun.
yeah, I know. It's such a big difference, huh?
It's
Like
crazy.
walking on the shady side versus the sunny side, to me, it's like night and day pretty much.
Yeah, it's at least a 15-degree difference, it feels like.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I'm feeling the same way. Yeah. So, I know it's only one past the hour, but we can probably get started and people will join as we go along.
Sure.
And thanks there to Vegilicious for tuning in. And I will save the replay so those who can't join live can watch it later.
Are
So
these
first of all,
birds too
Noah,
loud?
no, they're perfect. Leave them right there. I love birds.
Yeah, me too. It's
They're
really nice.
awesome.
We have like tons of, it's like a big forest just right off my balcony, so it's so nice.
Oh, you're so lucky. Oh,
Yeah.
you have free sound effects all the time and free music in the morning.
I know. Like leaving the window open at nighttime and in the morning you get woken up by the birds. It's so cool.
I love that. I love that. Oh my gosh, you're lucky.
Yeah.
So we do have our agenda kind of pinned on the bottom just to help me follow along here and yourself. And first of all, I want to thank you for taking the time to join. And when I had discovered your page, I was like, oh my gosh, fitness, vegan, let's see what's happening with vegan fitness and everything else that you're into. So the first question I wanted to ask you, if you could share with us your vegan journey, your plant journey.
Yeah, so basically it's been about it's I think it's almost a year and a half or 2 years coming up. Um, and how I started was, so let me preface with, I was always like a healthy eater, always
Hmm.
eating healthy.
Hmm.
So a lot of like vegetables, fruit,
Hmm.
not too many sweets or
Hmm.
like treats like that. But
Hmm.
occasionally cookies, and I'm more of a all or nothing kind of guy. So if
Mm.
there's a lot of treats in front of me, I'm eating them all like right then, and then think about the rest later.
You'll
Um,
figure it out later, right?
right. So that's basically a little bit of like my habits. So I had a buddy who gave up meat for Lent,
Hmm.
and I thought to myself like, oh wow, that's he's like a big meat eater, and that's pretty. I was like, that was my first time living with him, so I've been friends with him for a while, but after living with him and then seeing that like he eats meat a lot, and then all of a sudden he's gonna give up meat, I thought that was like a pretty cool challenge.
Yeah.
Um, so personally, I think at that time I was eating eggs in the morning with like veggies and smoothie and whatnot. But I was already doing plant-based protein source powders, and I wasn't
Okay.
really doing dairy. So um, I would do eggs in the morning, and then in the like lunchtime, I would probably do like salads or smoothies or a couple like maybe like a protein bar or something like that. And then in dinner time, I would eat maybe like one piece of meat, like chicken usually, or like ground turkey or something like that. So
Yeah, like what
that
they
was
call
basically
the
what.
white meats. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So
Hmm.
that was my diet, and I said to myself, all right, I can try vegetarian. So he challenged me right with his 40 days. I was like, all right, let me see if I can do it too. So all I had to do was give up the dinner basically. So
Yeah.
had to substitute that protein with something else. And my go-to, based on where I was able to shop and what I was able to substitute, I usually would substitute with like field roast sausages. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
so
haven't tried those. Mm-mm.
yeah, field roast is
Yeah.
pretty good.
Okay.
Seitan brand, but
Okay.
they do now. They do like cheeses and um, what else? They do cheese and I think that's it. They do cheeses and like sausages. Oh, and they
Hmm.
do deli like slices, kind
Oh
of.
yeah, yeah, those are
Um,
popular. Hmm.
yeah. So that was basically it for me. I did that, and as I went through that journey, I was I kept saying to myself like, wow, this is really easy. Like the
Oh
substitute
wow.
it was just really straightforward for me. All I had to do because I was in charge of like buying all of my food and cooking it all for myself. Not everybody has that ability. So
Yeah.
I was lucky to be able to do that, and because of that, all I did was go to the store and walk by the meat section. You know, like it was that simple for me.
Yeah.
So um
Yeah.
and the transition wasn't like cold turkey though. So I was doing that, and I lived with a couple people. So I said if they would waste meat, then I would eat it. Like if they would waste food,
Mm.
like if they were gonna throw out something that was edible still,
Oh.
I would still eat
Hmm.
it. Right. So that's how I started, and then slowly but surely, I just kind of like removed that. I became like comfortable not relying on animals for food, and then it kind of felt nice to not have to do that. So um, that waste didn't even seem like waste anymore. You know, like that food that could have been wasted if I didn't eat it didn't even seem like it was wasted. It seemed like it shouldn't have been there in the first place. You know?
Exactly. That's what I was feeling when you were saying it. And I'm so glad that you had that, realization, to be honest, because that's what I was feeling.
Yeah. So, and then I said to myself like, all right, I want to feel responsible for not letting that be there in the first place. So that's kind of when I just like made the change, and I was like, all right, I don't want to have to like ever have to sacrifice and eat meat. You know, like to me that's the sacrifice. When people say like, oh, I don't want to sacrifice like giving up
Yeah.
meat, and I'm like,
A
I
lot of
don't
people
want
feel
to.
that way. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the other way for me. I don't want to
Yeah.
sacrifice having to eat animals, right? So yeah,
Because
so that was it.
their lives are sacrificed too. Their lives are sacrificed to, appear on
Right,
someone's plate or in someone's skincare or clothing.
right,
Yeah.
yeah. And after that, I was basically full vegetarian, and then a couple like months later, I gave up eggs, and that was the last thing that I gave up. For me, cheese wasn't. My girlfriend and I would like eat cheese super occasionally if we had pizza, maybe. But
Okay.
but then like the vegan substitutes, if we ever want pizza, it's just as good. So
Oh yeah. Oh
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it's so
So
interesting you mentioned cheese because I'm lactose intolerant. So for many years prior to converting to veganism, I would just ask for pizzas, no cheese anyway.
yeah, yeah,
Like that just wasn't something that was even in my, you know, thinking because it was like, oh
yeah,
no, I'm gonna suffer from it anyway. Because at that point I didn't understand the animal cruelty that was behind it, but just my body was suffering from, not being able to digest dairy. So yeah, like that was kind of my way. So that's interesting that, you didn't even have that kind of, addiction, quote unquote, or struggle, because a lot of people do.
yeah. For me, like I gave up dairy mostly when I was in college because like I thought I had some type of lactose intolerant. I'm not even sure at this point, but I just felt better staying away from it, you know? So
Well,
that's like
supposedly like 65% of the global population is lactose intolerant.
okay, that makes sense. That doesn't surprise me. And I feel like it has to do a lot with like the processing like behind dairy. I mean, dairy's not natural.
No,
Like
no,
yeah,
no. You're totally right.
that's so it's very that's a very common like misconception. People think it just comes from the cow and like that's it. No, the process behind like cheese and even milk is very complex and definitely not natural. Even the way we're getting milk from the cow is not a natural part of the cow's like lactation cycle. Like it's
No,
yeah, yeah.
exactly. I
So I
mean,
mean,
there's so much force, forced cruelty in it that, again, we just don't realize it until we, dig a little bit deeper.
Yeah. And I mean, I was blind to it all for such a
Me
long
too.
time.
Me
And
too.
the one thing I struggle with a lot is like, even conversations I have with friends or family, or for me, it's like all I had to do was just learn. Like I just had to learn, and I was like, oh, that doesn't make sense. Why are we doing that? And then I was like, okay, I think I have like I mean, obviously, I have the privilege to be able to avoid it. Not everybody has, maybe the resources or even the like support around it.
Oh, that's huge.
So, I mean, for me, none of that was a problem for me. So it was very easy. And
That's
I never
cool.
once like missed the taste of meat. I never like missed any of that because it wasn't like, I don't know. One thing I always say is like, the more or the less you rely on animals as food source, the more compassion you have for them.
Oh,
So
totally.
it's not even like I miss meat, I like animals more.
Yeah, 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 exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
Like
and it's so interesting. Yeah, it's so interesting what you were saying, like even when you were growing up, like you weren't really so attached to like eating animals. And that's how I was too, like I would choose, let's say, well, in those days we didn't have veggie burgers, so I would choose like a fish fillet, the lightest thing I could find,
yeah,
if we were going out, let's say to a fast food place or whatever on the weekend. And like I just never really enjoyed eating loads of meat. And similar to you, it was more like, all right, then I'll eat like the lighter meats, quote unquote. So
yeah,
like the chickens and the turkeys and the fish that are super light, because I just never felt like it just didn't feel right.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. That's cool. So tell me now, I think I know the answer, but for those who are watching, and thanks everybody for joining here, how did you choose Noah's Ark Fitness as the name of your, shall we say, handle, your social media handle?
Yeah, so obviously there's a connection with animals there, right? But it's interesting because when I actually created the page, I wasn't vegan. So at first I wasn't vegan. I think like it's funny because I was thinking about this question a lot since you asked me it,
Really?
and I was like, I honestly don't like. I feel like I had a reason early on, but I think I just like to be lighthearted, and this was just something that seemed like natural and just kind of like fun, and like everybody. I mean, I see a lot of like fitness pages that are like Noah Fit or like my last name Fit or something like
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I was like, I don't
Hmm.
want to be just like one of the like normal, so I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
thought I want to throw out a name that like maybe people even like make fun of or something like that because I think like the more you talk about it, even if it's positive or negative, the more it's talked about, the better.
Yeah.
So I
Something
mean,
that stands out.
yeah, exactly. Because
Yeah.
people would joke to me like Noah's Ark Fitness is like a name that then people would just like refer to me by. Like some people that I knew would just be like, "Oh, what's up, Noah's Ark?" or something, and just like so.
Well, some people probably think that's your last name. If they don't
Right?
know, if they don't know the story about Noah's Ark and saving
Yeah.
the animals, then they'll be like, "Oh yeah, that's just his name."
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think the more like the more I use the name, the more like the stronger connection I like grew with the name. So I mean, I thought
Yeah.
about changing my name before, but then I was like, I just couldn't change it. Like, it's just too, yeah, it's just too like part of me now.
No, but I think it's so cool because it relates to saving animals, and now that's your mission.
Yeah,
So for me, I think it's cool.
yeah,
Maybe it wasn't your original intention, but it turned out great.
it did. Yeah, for sure. I remember I have this little like wooden plaque that my grandma got me a while ago, and it's kind of funny. It's like a small little like wood thing, and it says like, "Why didn't Noah just kill the two mosquitoes or something?"
Oh
Like
my gosh, that's so weird. What is that?
so because
Oh
like I guess like Noah took like all the animals aboard, but like mosquitoes are such a pest, and he's like, "Why didn't?"
no. Oh, Oh, right,
Yeah.
because
Well,
there
I
were two.
didn't
Yeah,
know
there were
just like
two of each. Yeah, two of each.
right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, a lot of
Uh,
people can't stand mosquitoes. That's true.
yeah.
Poor
So come on,
mosquitoes. They
like
get a bad rap.
they do. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. If anyone has questions, please pop them down in the comments. And also, it's really cool to know where people are listening in from, which country or city. So if you'd like to share that down in the comment section, that would be cool. And so, Noah, tell us a bit about, your fitness services and offerings. What are you helping people with in the world?
Yeah, so right now I mean I don't have any like personal training certifications or anything like that. So more so if people ever want something from me, I can help with like recipe ideas. I can help with like basically easing any type of burden from fitness to food, right? So if you're having trouble like maybe coming up with workouts, I could potentially share resources that I use or, you know, friends that I've like gotten advice from who actually have certifications,
Mhm,
or
mhm,
I can share like resources for recipes and
mhm,
foods that I get and
mhm,
things like that. So I tend to like play it on the safer end there where, you know, I don't want to necessarily like take on clients, but you
mhm.
know, because I also think there's a fine line between how much somebody wants to actually do it and how much like we're gonna help them do it. So I think like for me personally, I've had the drive myself.
Yes.
Thus, I've been able to get results that way. You know, like I was able to become vegan because I wanted to do it, and that was like within me. Like nobody else could have done that for me. So I tend to like do the hands off approach there where if you want help, I'll show you everything I've done and I've used, but if you don't want to do it yourself, I can't make you do it, you know? Like there's nothing that I can do that's going to make you work out every day or make you, you know, become vegan or plant-based. I can share as much as I can, but you have to have it like within you already to want to be able to go that next level, to want to be able to lose 10 pounds, to want to be able to squat more weight or run faster or, you know, eat plants more. So, I mean, that's something that it's going to have to be internal. So that's kind of why I do the hands-on approach. Not saying that coaches don't work. Like, that's definitely not like the case. But
Right,
um,
right.
I don't feel like I am at the place in my own life to necessarily take on like people to coach. You know, that takes
But
like
I
a certain
think,
yeah.
no, go
Go ahead.
ahead.
But I was just saying that takes like a certain level of like I don't know. I mean, I work like a full time job, so if like this was my full time job, maybe I would be able to like have my own time to like do my fitness and my food stuff. But I'm working a full time job, and then I get to do fitness and food stuff, and it's like there's not more time for helping other people.
Coaching and
Yeah,
mhm. But I totally agree with you. They have to be ready. If they're not ready, then you can talk until you're blue in the face and it will not make a difference because they will have that wall of resistance up you know against whatever you're suggesting. I also think is really cool though that you do so, you basically serve as like a reference guide, a
yeah,
resource guide. You say, hey, if you're interested in such and such, you can find that here.
yeah,
Or if you need such and such of a professional to help you, hey, I can recommend this person and that person.
yeah. And
So
there's a good. That's actually interesting. I didn't think about this, but there's like analogy I would use is like I'm often looking for like financial advice or like different things I can do financially that could help me. So what do? I go on the internet and look at people who have done this and the resources they have, right? So I'm not asking for like a financial coach or like a financial advisor, right? But I'm looking at all of the resources this person has, like blog posts and all that kind of stuff, and I use that stuff and it works for me because I want to do it. And so I'm like kind of the same thing. I hope people would come to me in that sense when they have like a peak interest and they're like, hey,
Mhm.
what do I do in this scenario? Or like any ideas on this, you know? So that's kind of, yeah, like resource guide is a good, is a good
Yeah.
example. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of people are just floundering and lost and not sure where even to start,
Yeah.
just like basics. I participate in a lot of Instagram lives, and it's amazing how many people ask, how do I get started? How do I give up meat? How do I give up cheese? What do I do?
Yeah.
How do I lose weight? How do I gain weight, on plants? Like, I mean, the gain weight on plants, that kind of surprised me, to be honest, when I first saw it.
Just eat more.
Right. And I know we're gonna get into that, but it's amazing the questions, or so many people want recipes, and I know you talk about recipes. So maybe you could talk a little bit more about the types of recipes that you would, offer, suggest to folks who are searching, because it is surprising how many people are just lost for ideas sometimes.
Yeah. I think it's really hard because everybody's like food specifically is so like intimate, you know, like
Yeah.
it's something that you have a personal, like you have so many specific preferences, you know, not everybody is going to feel the same way that you do about food. So I can't just say, like, my girlfriend is vegan and she hates mushrooms.
Oh
Or
yeah.
yeah, so I think
Wow.
it's like a texture thing, but she'll eat them if they're small and they're not like, you know, that easily detectable. Um,
Interesting.
but yeah, she does. She's not a fan of mushrooms. I'm
Yeah.
trying to get her there. But
Yeah.
so that's an example, right? Like
Hmm.
it takes a lot.
I will say shiitake mushrooms freak me out when they're very wet.
Yeah,
When they're
yeah,
very soggy, ooh
yeah,
la la, those really, scare me.
yeah.
But almost every other type of mushroom, I am totally in for them. But
We
that
did
particular,
fried oyster mushrooms, and she liked
oh, those
those.
are lovely.
Yeah,
Oh, those are among my favorites.
yeah.
Mm.
Those.
And they use oyster mushrooms like to mimic scallops.
Yeah, they do. I mean, mushrooms in general do mimic that like scallop. Like I do get a lot of like scallop texture from mushrooms. And
Yeah.
actually, my girlfriend's a good example of somebody who doesn't want that replication. So
Uh-huh.
so that's like she doesn't even want to think she's eating meat, you know?
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I
Yeah,
totally agree, because like what's the point? And
right.
I know, like, someone who is, venturing into the vegan world, he had someone make the comment or ask the question, like, well, why do vegans want to eat like mock meats? If they're trying to give up meat, why are they eating mock meats, And my thing is, well, at least it's cruelty free, number one. Number
Yeah,
two, it's an entryway, it's a gateway. Why not?
yeah,
It's made of plants,
yeah,
so why not? Why not eat them in the form that you're used to eating, the standard diet. So I can totally understand why people choose, especially at the beginning. I know I started off with loads of vegan burgers.
yeah. I mean, so actually, I'd like to preface, I guess, like if I can go back in time, preface with, like, I've been eating vegan alternatives for a really long time. So
Wow.
my mom, it's all like thanks to my mom because my mom was very like diverse in the kitchen. So she would cook
Yeah.
Asian food. We were eating tofu when we were like 10 years old. So,
Wow.
I mean, my brother and I would just, so it's not like we never touched any of that stuff. So it wasn't that foreign to me.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I remember like field roast sausage. I've had field roast sausage. It's seitan, and I've eaten it like probably when I was 13, if it was out then. But I think I was eating it when I was like really young because my
I
mom
was
brought
gonna
it home
say,
one
yeah.
time, and she
You
was
guys
like,
were ahead of the curve there.
"Yeah," but see, not everybody has that exposure at home. So, and especially when they're young. So I think that in itself is very significant. But yeah, I mean, if somebody came to me, I think the first step would be understanding their preferences, right? Like I had a phone call with a friend who was asking for some help, and you know, the first thing I said is like, what do you like to eat? You know, what do you like to eat? What won't you touch? You know, because we have to break that down. And when they say, oh, I like everything, I go, have you had tofu? Have you tried like tofu? Have you, you know, like, let's see what everything is. And I'm often like a little bit more on the surprise side when people say, oh yeah, tofu, tempeh, I've had that stuff. And I was like, all right, good. Well, you're off to like a really good start, you know? And then see, when people have done that the most when people have tried those foods, it often turns to the difficulty and the fitness side, where they say, I can't get enough, I'm struggling getting enough protein when, you know, when I'm eating tempeh, or maybe I don't feel as full, or, you know, that's kind of the realm that I go down. And then it's, you know, then it's basically just turns into a sciencey discussion, and it becomes a lot more like, you know, technical, and sometimes it goes over people's head, or sometimes they don't believe it, you know, so you know, that's a little bit more challenging and a little bit more complicated. But I mean, the first thing to do is start putting more vegetables on your plate. Even if there's meat on the plate, start putting more vegetables. Like, eat the vegetables first, become full, and then say like, I couldn't even finish all the meat, you know, or something like that, right? And just start like pushing towards less meat, more vegetables, and start that trend. But I mean, I tend to be kind of hard on people, you know, at least people close to me, right? But
someone else said that too recently.
Yeah, I mean, because like I'm just like tired of hearing excuses, and I understand everybody's got something different going on. I understand that. Like, I'm trying to empathize with every different scenario. And one thing I've been pushing on recently is like, I saw this thing that said like, oh, like people have like their own cultural foods that, you know, and I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna make it my mission to find every cultural food alternative I can. That's like not like, that is plant-based, right? Because they're
so to veganize every culture.
Right, exactly.
I love it.
And if you do enough searching, it's out there already. Like, there's so many good accounts, especially on Instagram, for example, that that have, you know, that have vegan, like the Korean vegan is like a one who does like Korean vegan food. And there's so many other people that are doing like vegan Italian food, and it's just like, you know, open your eyes, it's out there. Be the one to like change it in your family or something. So, you know, I don't know.
I love that.
I think it's just another excuse, and that doesn't mean you can't use it. You can use it for a little bit, but like, use it with the intention to get out of it. Like, that's and that's kind of like why I'm hard on people too, is because, you know, people say like, oh, you know, maybe I'll start like slow, and I'm like, okay, you can start slow. That's okay. I did the same thing, but you have to have the intention of giving up meat 100%. Right? So like 3 pieces of bacon instead of 5 is good for a month. If the next month you do 2 instead of 5, and then 1 instead of 5, right?
So wean yourself off of it.
Yeah, because otherwise, like, if you don't have an end goal, what's the point of even making a change, right? Like, let's say, like, for example, I was trying to lose weight, and that was like my goal. I want to lose weight to be healthier, right? I'm not just going to tell myself, all right, I'm going to lose 5 pounds and I'm happy. Let's say I need to lose 50 pounds, right? I'm not going to tell myself, I'm going to lose 5 pounds and, you know, we're just going to start there. I mean, like, sure, start there, but your goal is 50 pounds. So,
like, don't lose sight of that. Yeah.
Don't just lose 5 pounds and then gain 5 pounds and lose 5. You know what I'm saying? Lose 5 pounds with the intention of losing those 50 pounds. You know? So
well, that's the fitness person in you, I think, talking too, like with no, it's true, like having milestones and markers as you go along, you know, like having a plan, you know.
Like, I have friends who have like will tell me like, oh, I just gave up like dairy, and I'm like, sweet, like, that's so good, I'm like really proud of you. What's the next step, you know?
I love that. Like, it's almost like, you know, you keep challenging them,
right?
and they obviously, take on the challenge, they accept the challenge, so they're
Yeah.
obviously moving in the right direction and
Yeah.
getting off of, the standard diet and lifestyle. Yeah.
And I think what it is there, what the challenging thing there is, people don't have a milestone because they don't have, or they don't have an end goal because they don't have the connection that like maybe I have. So like for me, it's like I never want to eat animals. I want to help the environment. I have those end goals, right? For people who are like, oh, I gave up dairy, it's just like I gave up dairy because I think probably like eating plants is better. I don't know. They don't know why they're doing it. They just like, oh, everybody's like, oat milk's good. Everybody's giving up this stuff. Maybe they're not
Hmm.
connecting with like less cruelty for like cows, or maybe they're not connecting with better for the environment. They're just saying like, oh, I'm just gonna give it up. Everybody's doing it. Oat milk's good. I like it. So once you make the connection with like, oh my gosh, I don't want to hurt animals, or oh my gosh, environment's my thing, or health's my thing, then that's when you see people start like going, they start driving to like that end goal. But until that like connection is made, it's really hard to push people, because that connection is just the driving factor. You got to make it personal. Like I said, food's intimate, so you have to make it like some personal connection to yourself.
Yeah, and I think what you're getting at too, and I call it, and other people I guess call it, like finding your why.
Yeah.
Why are you doing this?
Right.
If it's only because, I'm just going to make this up, if it's only because you want to have less bloating, or I don't know, certain foods make you feel ill or something like that, then that to me is not a strong enough motivation. And I think that's why it's super important what you're saying, like to connect the dots. What we're doing in the standard diet and lifestyle is connected to animal cruelty, is connected to damaging our planet, and of course our health.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, like, seeing those three pillars, health, animals, and our planet, keeping all of those in the picture on the radar so that, we don't lose sight of the importance of why we're doing this.
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, first, it was just like a challenge, right? It was just something I was like, whatever, I'll try this. My friend's doing it. And then, like I said, the less I ate meat, the more compassion I had for animals.
Yes.
And I said like, oh, I would, honestly, I don't want to ever have to like use an animal for food, right? Because I love animals, right? Everybody thinks they love animals, probably. Like everybody thinks they love their cat.
We are compassionate. I think naturally we are compassionate.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why a lot of people have pets, but the problem is we have this speciesism. Well, we keep pets, dogs, cats, gerbils, hamsters, etc., rabbits, but we regard other animals as prey. We just use them and abuse them.
Yeah, and it's just because like we grew up as babies, and then that's all we knew.
Yeah, I mean, it's conditioning, marketing, propaganda, the whole, 9 yards of culture and what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. In some cultures, dogs are pets. In other cultures, dogs are considered a part of their standard diet,
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's, like you say, it's what you grow up with.
And I think, like, so yeah, some people are able to make that connection, others aren't, but they just need that exposure. There's like ignorance. Like I just started working at a animal sanctuary on the weekends.
Awesome.
On Sundays.
Awesome.
It's like close to my home, and it's just like I was like, I want to get more experience with animals that aren't cats and dogs, So
exactly. Mm-hmm.
And like literally cows, goats, sheep, they're just puppies. They're big puppies. Like.
And they're so intelligent, and
Yeah.
they're so sweet, and they're so loving,
Yeah.
and they really like have like, well, they are sentient beings, and they really have emotions, and like when let's say, you pat them on the head or whatever, their eyes close and they're dreamy and they're in love with you, and it's, I mean, just like your pet dog would do, when you pat them on the head and they're like, oh, that feels great,
Yeah, so all the animals there have names, and I think it's like,
yes,
it's really cool because it, like, they're
individuals.
Yeah, they're like people.
They're
Like,
individual. They all have their own personality,
they
their own
do.
characters, their own moods.
Yeah, there's this pigeon Hamilton. His name is Hamilton,
Oh
and he'll
my
just like
gosh.
sit on your head. Like
Oh my gosh.
I was like, all right, so this sounds like heaven, right? So
Oh
today I was there feeding the groundhog named
yeah.
Chompers.
Oh.
I was feeding Chompers like some food, and then Hamilton was just sitting on my head for like 5 minutes. I was just hanging
Oh
out with
my
him.
god.
Yeah.
That is really too cute.
It was
That
literally
is
like
too cute.
heaven. Just like having all these animals around me is just so, and the chickens are running around, and it's like
They're all doing their thing. They're all doing
yeah,
what their, the chickens are doing what they do, cows,
yeah,
goats, like you're saying, everyone's just doing their own thing.
yeah. Because we just
Yeah.
we just had a new chicken that's about 2 weeks has been in the animal sanctuary because it was a rescue. It was just like found in an apartment complex, like just wandering around. So they rescued it, and it's kind of like getting used to the other chickens. It's
Oh
not
yeah.
very social. Like
No.
it's social with me. Like it'll just walk through my legs like all day. But yeah, she's not social, and
Well,
her
she
name's
probably wasn't even around other chickens, or who knows what they were doing with that chicken. I
yeah,
don't want to. I don't want to speculate into,
yeah,
the, shall we say, the underworld of what they actually do with
yeah,
animals like chickens. But who knows what his or her experience was.
yeah, yeah. But it's really cool though to see how the animals interact. And she has her own personality. She's like very like antisocial with the chickens, so she's in her own corner just like doing her own thing, but will like walk around you, and it's just so cool. You're right, they're all individuals, and it's so until you see that, like, I think it might be hard for some people to make the connection. And even imagine, like, the one thing that's even harder is, like, I think for me it's like, all right, cows and sheep and I mean, goats, like, they're almost even the same size as dogs, right? Like, they're very
Yes.
close
Oh
looking to
yes.
dogs. So, like,
Oh yes.
I think it's a little bit easier to connect with that, right? Cows are really big, so maybe it's a little bit
True.
harder, but they're very,
True.
like, calm, and they're very, like, social, and they love to be close to you. So,
Oh, it's amazing.
but the one thing is, like, fish, I think people just fish people cannot make connections to, besides like having them in tanks at your house. But like,
Right.
that's not great either. But
Right. No, and well, I'm glad you brought up fish because the fact that, let's say someone is out there fishing with, a rod and what have you, bait and all of that. The fact that the fish are fighting and resisting to actually be caught and taken out of the water, for me, that's proof. To me, that's proof that, we should not be bothering them at all. We shouldn't be fishing them at all. Not only that, but, humans have like overfished the oceans and the seas, and the larger fish were supposed to be eating the smaller fish. They're malnourished. And I don't know if you heard that story a couple years ago or so, the mother whale who was mourning the death of her calf because she wasn't able to nourish her calf enough because the oceans are being depleted with the supply of food in the food chain for whales
yeah,
and for other fish as well. Because of course it's a food chain, right? The small, the medium, the large, etc. So
yeah,
it's just so sad. I mean, that was shocking to me, and that was just one more reason why we should not be bothering with fish in the ocean, because they have their own ecosystem, and like I regularly see big birds here actually diving in the river for tiny fish. So they, the little fish are in there, and that's the food supply chain, let's say, for bigger birds,
right,
And so who are we to go, taking the fish out of the river, for example?
yeah, yeah. I mean,
You know.
like, it's funny because we have hawks on the grounds, and like I have to sometimes watch the chickens and we have like a few squirrels that we like to not be eaten. Like, it's just, the squirrels are maybe like, obviously not our responsibility. So if a hawk gets a squirrel, we can't do anything about that. That's just nature. But,
Yeah, I
you
was
know,
gonna say, yeah.
we have to sometimes guard the chickens because the big like birds will come and eat the like small chickens. So
But see,
that's
that like you said, that's the natural cycle of life, so to speak,
right.
and that's just the way I guess nature was created,
Yeah. So stop taking their fish so that the birds can go at the fish and not our chickens.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah. Keep them
So
away
no,
from our chickens. Go get food somewhere else.
no, but I'm so glad you're having that experience in the animal sanctuary, though.
Oh
Can
yeah,
you hear me?
it's like the coolest thing I've ever done so
Yeah,
far. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah.
um,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
It's such a
So
great
tell me a
experience,
bit.
and
Mhm.
I'm really glad that like I was able to have this opportunity. I just basically reached out and like had to wait a little bit because of COVID, but once things like were a little bit better and at least on the I don't know if I should call it a farm. It's not a farm.
Well, the
On the
sanctuary. Yeah,
at the sanctuary, yeah.
yeah.
Then yeah, I was able to get in, and I'm really grateful. There's like really great people, and we have like potlucks every other Sunday, so we had one today. Um,
Nice.
yeah, and it's just super awesome. All vegan food, of course.
Yeah, I know, I know. Well, I took that for granted. I'm like, yeah, they're eating plants.
Yeah,
This is
exactly.
good.
It would be so weird if we sat down and grilled burgers as we took care of the cows,
That makes zero sense. That makes
Right.
zero sense. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
and it's so nice because it's like a little community, between human animals and non-human animals. So it's cool.
Yeah, and we had to put some of the goats in their pen today because they were trying to eat the banana muffins.
They're so funny.
I had to like lure
It's
them away with
hilarious.
like crumbles of banana muffin and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
uh,
They're so funny. They're into everything. Yeah,
yeah.
I love
But
it.
but yeah, I mean, I think like I don't have like a vegan community that like I'm in personally. So it's really cool to like talk to all these people that all like
Exactly.
have tried all the vegan foods, know it all, and like
Exactly. Well, that's your community now, and
yeah,
especially with all of the social distancing, so many meetups are being canceled face to face, et
right,
cetera, potlucks, et cetera. So at least it's great that you have, whenever you're able to go over there, you have your buddies over there, and
yeah.
you're speaking the same language.
Yeah, and I love like service. Like I love
Yes.
to donate and stuff, but my
Yeah.
source of money is not unlimited. But
Yes.
to me, I
But
feel like I have
your
unlimited
time
time.
is
Yeah,
such an offering and such well, people say time is money. So
yeah,
you're donating your time and energy and compassion to,
yeah,
these beautiful animals. So
yeah. Like sure, I could go get a second job to work on the weekends so I could make money and then donate that money. But I'd rather just give my time.
but they need volunteers though,
Yeah,
because when people donate money, someone still has to go and feed the chickens,
yeah.
feed the cows, the horses, the goats, etc., take care of everyone. So
That's
they
true.
definitely need people on the ground,
Yeah,
not just a check.
yeah, and it's a I mean, I'm kind of selfish in the sense that I really like giving service in ways that I like. So I love
Everyone's
cooking.
different.
Yeah, I love cooking. So I've done like
Awesome.
DC Central Kitchen, which is like cooking for like homeless people. So like
Oh, nice.
I love doing the like service that's fun for me.
Yeah. Well,
So
everyone's different,
yeah,
otherwise everyone would be doing the same thing. And then who's going to do the other stuff that other people
yeah.
don't want to do?
Exactly. So literally, like, I go there on Sundays, and it's like therapy for me. It's literally
Oh,
like
so great.
I spent this whole week just looking forward to Sunday.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was like, I get to go hang out with like all my friends. Like,
I was going to say, I think you found your tribe,
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. At least one of your tribes. Yeah.
And I just like talk to the animals like they can hear me.
Yeah. 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 Well, that's what I do with the birds here and the squirrels.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm still. As I was walking back today to my car, I like saw this one squirrel who was walking kind of slow next to me, and I was like, I'm gonna get this guy on my side. Like
Yeah.
I'm
But
gonna
yeah,
like,
you have to gain their trust. You
yeah.
do.
That's
They're
how the
so
groundhogs.
squirmish. Yeah.
That's how the groundhogs were, because it took them a while to get I wouldn't call it domesticated, but like,
Like used to humans and
yeah,
other animals. Yeah.
right. So before they weren't around, and then they were telling me that they were never around, and then all of a sudden, like a year ago, they just like there were three of them, and they just like started coming. I think like one of them came and then told the other ones, and they all just like
Hey, they're gonna take care of us here. Let's go.
yeah. So they're getting fed well before the winter. So
Nice, nice.
yeah.
So we did have two people from Dublin. Hi, Dublin. Everyone else who's on, if you could just let us know where you're joining from, that would be cool. If you have questions, pop them down below. We only have a few minutes left. And so, Noah, can you tell us a little bit about how you approach fitness as a vegan versus as a non-vegan, or how you, I guess, handle questions and inquiries from people who are vegan versus non-vegan? Like, is there something different that you're doing and nowadays versus 10 years ago?
Yeah. So I think like the biggest thing, right, is the biggest like piece of advice, or I think everybody's the same, right? Like whether you're vegan or you're not vegan, I think the main thing you need to focus on is like calories and macros, right? So calories are the most important, right? That's basically what you're getting fueled with, and then the breakdown of what your calories are the macros. So
Carbohydrates, proteins, fats.
yeah, exactly. So what is your breakdown there? You don't want to have 50% fat in your diet necessarily. So
Mm-hmm.
I guess it all depends on your goals, but generally that's
Mm-hmm.
probably not that healthy.
Mm-mm.
So I mean that's like the main area, right? Like have an understanding of that, have an understanding of what's realistic for you, right? Like I weigh like 200 pounds, and getting 200 grams of protein a day is like not realistic. Like I'm gonna be just cramming down protein shakes. Yeah, so I just don't think there's the common misconception about how much protein we actually need.
Yeah.
And people think they are these high performing athletes that they're not.
Yeah.
So sure, you like to work out and probably stay fit, but if you're not training for something really intense like a marathon, like if you're a professional athlete or something like that, your protein intake doesn't need to be where you think it does. Right? So
there's so much marketing behind that. So much.
Yeah. That industry. I mean, you go to like GNC or some like supplement store, you see the walls full of different protein powders, and I mean it's just crazy.
It's big business. It's big business.
Interesting. I'm actually interested. I'll probably dig into this a little bit more, but I'm interested in like the history of protein, like the history of the marketing behind that. Like, when did that start? I'm because what are we talking, 1950s, or when did like protein powders? That's really interesting. I'd love to look into that and learn a little bit more about that.
That's a good point. I will say there is a move towards plant proteins versus animal proteins, even in gyms. I was in Ottawa, Canada last year, and I was just walking around in a pedestrian area. I popped into a gym and I saw they had smoothies. So I ordered smoothies, and I said, but no, I don't want protein. Now, I didn't know what was in the protein, but I just figured I don't need all that extra stuff. Okay, I'm not like a big buff person at the moment, so or never will be. And so I just wanted all the fruits, right?
Yeah.
And then as I was sipping, I was just chatting with the person behind the counter, and I asked him, like, oh, so what's your protein powder all about? And she said, well, currently it's whey, but we are getting a vegan one coming in to replace it. And I was thrilled, and I said, "Well, I'm vegan," and that was not the reason why I didn't ask for protein powder in my smoothie. But it's so great to hear that, that they're phasing out, they're getting rid of the animal protein option and replacing it with a plant protein. So, just, and of course, when we go to supermarket, we're seeing more and more plant protein options. So I think it's awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely. I think we're definitely moving in the right direction, but I don't think we're like winning yet.
No, 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 no. I know, I know.
Yeah,
I'm not like raising the victory
yeah,
flag or
yeah,
anything
yeah.
yet, but it
Because I
would be
mean,
nice.
at the same rate, I think unfortunately they're increasing meat production, and
I've heard the
it,
demand is going up with the, increase in wealth in certain countries.
what I do like though is that like fast food chains are tending to have more and more plant-based options. And I think that's good because generally people who eat less plant-based probably eat more fast food, right?
Aha, good point.
So I think like having the option there for those who don't normally do this is a good idea. It's like, because I've heard people say like, oh, I tried like the, Impossible Burger, or I've tried like sofritas at Chipotle, or, all these different
Yeah,
things.
yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
like, good, eat it more. Like, if you liked it,
Yeah.
eat it more.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, flexitarians are increasing apparently, so people are adding more plants to their diet a few times a week. And I totally agree with you. I mean, fast food gets such a bad rap, but my thing is, if it's cruelty free, I think that's the first win. Secondly, it's a gateway into exploring more plant
Yep.
foods, and not just relying on animal products. So
Yeah.
I personally don't bash fast food. And again, I started on quite a bit of fast food. And the
Yeah.
other thing is, even in my personal experience, when I was sharing, veganism and with people I know, I knew that they were big in fast food. So things like donuts and chicken joints and burger joints. So what I was doing was, for example, Live Kindly publishes different articles about this fast food place is adding vegan options, so I would send it to them, and
Yeah.
it was my way of saying, hey, well, fast food's going vegan too, or fast food's adding vegan options, and they would be like, ooh, I want to try that.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
at least it's cruelty free. I'm never saying it's the healthiest option, I'm never saying that, but at
Yeah.
least we're reducing the demand for the animal supply chain, at
Yeah.
least on our plates. Then of course we need to look at everything else, clothing, skincare, etc.
Right. But yeah,
So
so yeah, I think like I was saying before, I'm hard on people at different rates. Like, so first I would say like, fast food, for example, I'd be like, oh yeah, go try the like plant-based
yeah,
fast food option. And then as they're eating more fast food, I'd be like, okay, stop eating fast food. Like that's
add
like
more whole foods. Yeah,
yeah,
graduate
exactly.
graduate to whole foods. Yeah.
Graduate. Yeah, that's a good word. I like that.
Yeah, graduate
Um
to the less processed stuff.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So yeah, I think that's a good direction. I like that, graduate. Yeah. You've
Yeah, that's
like
how I see it.
Yeah, like, all right, you gave up milk, now let's graduate to giving up cheese, right? Or like
Exactly,
something like that.
exactly. Yeah, because everyone just is not going to do it overnight. So
Yeah.
I totally agree with you. So we only have a few minutes left. So what do you say to naysayers, like critics of the vegan diet and lifestyle, in terms of, oh no, that's all, that stuff isn't even real. You guys are just making that stuff up or whatever, or I could never do that.
Yeah. So you're gonna have those people for sure everywhere, right? Maybe some people are even joking about it, but to every joke there's some truth, right? So yeah, this is like one of the toughest things too. And like I said, you got to handle it different per person. Sorry, did you lose me for a sec?
I'm
No.
here.
Okay. Since you know, I love cooking, my first, like, my go-to move is be like, okay, cool, whatever, say all you want, right? Blah, blah, blah. Let's move on. Hey, you want to come over for dinner? I'll make some food. Cook them some vegan food,
Oh,
right?
I love
They're
that.
like, what is this? Like, I don't know. And they're like, oh, oh my God, like this is really good. And I'm like, yeah, it is. Right?
That is so cool because, you know, like at least women, a lot of us in this part of the world, we grow up hearing, the way to a heart's man is through his stomach or something like that. And so it's so cool that you're using that, you know, to win them over.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like, that's the best I can do. You know, if I'm chatting with someone like over this, like Instagram or some other platform, you know, I can't cook for them right there. I'm just gonna be like, here's science, here's like resources, they're doing it. It's like, I don't know what I can do. I can show you, look how good this looks, right? But like, if you're here, you're my friend, you're doubting me, you like, I have the ability to give you the food or take you to the restaurant, like, that's the first step, right? Just start showing them that vegan food isn't just grass. It doesn't suck. Like, it's so good, right? And I kind of take a little bit of offense myself because, you know, they're saying, oh, I don't want to do it. It probably sucks, whatever. I'm like, do you think I would go a route that, like, is terrible?
That's a good point.
Yeah, what, do you have no respect for me that you think I would just, like, go down the drain and eat terrible food for the rest of my life? Like, I love
that. I love your strategy.
Yeah.
That's a cool strategy. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I you know, that's kind of like a little hurt I get all of a sudden. Like, who do you think I am that I'm about to just, you know, give up on all of the food that I like? You know, no, I love food. Food is so good. I like eating good food. Food prepared well, you know. I go to vegan restaurants because they cook really good food, you know. Who cares if it's vegan or not? It's just amazing food, right? So,
well, I like the way you personalize it and you make it, you know, more about yourself in that sense, because they can relate to that better than, you know, perhaps when we talk about, you know, the animal cruelty and the slaughterhouses and the planet. Like for them, that's a little bit more
like far
removed from their everyday existence. But like when you make it personal, I think that's, you know, I think that kind of brings it down to everyone's level.
Yeah, I agree. Thanks. I appreciate that though. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Well, we have 2 minutes left. So where can people contact you? Oh, there goes my hair. Where can people contact you for, you know, collaborations, information, etc.?
Yeah, so I mean, Instagram's a great platform. You know, reach out to me. That way, I know your intention, right? Like, if I give you my cell phone number, and maybe I'm getting random text that's just like, where's this coming from? But here, like, you know, my mission, my intention. So, this is a great way. I also have a link tree in my bio that has like links to different like resources that I use for like some research papers. I'll post frequently. If I make a post, I'll be like, here's a research paper in my bio. Like, read through it, or you know. So that kind of stuff. I started YouTube like a little bit, but it was hard to keep up. I mean, if I have more time in my hands, I'll try to add to it more. But yeah, Instagram's probably the best way to reach out to me at Noah's Ark Fitness. So
awesome. All right, we have 1 minute and 6 seconds. It's giving me a countdown. Anything else you want to add, Noah?
I would say that anybody who's trying to go more plant-based, like, don't beat yourself up about like little losses or regression back to like maybe meat here and there, right? Just know that like the intention should be little to no meat eventually, but like you can start slowly. So definitely don't beat yourself up if you're not able to stick to it. I know I'm an all or nothing kind of guy, so
me too.
So I tend to do that myself, but you just have to know that, like, all right, maybe I had like an all out, like ate a bunch of meat today, but like, let me just go again tomorrow, you know, like that's okay.
Yeah.
Just know, like, the more you get into it, the less like cheats you'll have. That's what I've experienced personally, is like,
okay, Noah, we have 10 seconds left and I have to save it. Okay. Thank you so much. I'm sorry. No, thank you so much. Take good care. Same here. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.